A Philadelphia neighborhood turned war zone. The search is on for the radical group police were trying to bomb out.
A group of protesters at Honeywell in Minneapolis were arrested this morning. And Bloomington officials announced plans for the site where Met Stadium used to stand. Also, no seatbelt law for Minnesota and no title for Miss Minnesota.
Details are coming up on today's Noon Report.
There's a sign in the bar says, "Oh, you can drink for $1." Drunk walks in, says, "How much can I drink for 2?" After lunch, this guy gets so loaded he's got to use the freight elevator. Talk about drunk driving. He's got a bumper sticker that says, "Forget the whales. Save the martini!"
If someone close to you has a drinking problem, you know alcoholism is no laughing matter. So call Care Unit. The disease is alcoholism. The answer is Care Unit.
All over soybean country, there's a sure sign of better grass control.
Post against grass.
It's the sure sign of better grass control without crop injury. It's the sure sign of better grass control no other herbicide can beat. Post herbicide, the sure sign of better grass control.
The fundamental things apply as time goes by.
The great songs, the big bands, and great memories of the last 4 decades make up the music of your life on KLBB Radio, 1400 on your AM dial.
Serving and informing the Twin Cities for 4 decades. This is WCCO Television, Minneapolis, St. Paul. And now, Bill Carlson, Debbie Ely, Bud Kraehling, and Tony Parker bring you Channel 4's Noon Report.
The wrecking crews got their explosive hands on Metropolitan Stadium this year. A Minnesota landmark came tumbling down. Since then, questions and more questions about what would go in at the Met Stadium site. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, some answers to some of those questions as Bloomington officials announced plans. And Debbie was on hand. Debbie?
Bill, Bloomington Mayor Jim Lindow today formally announced the names of 7 developers who want to develop the old Met Stadium site. Those developers have not submitted any plans yet, but all have indicated that they want to put a combination of offices, retail, and hotel development on the 86-acre site. The property is presently owned by the Bloomington Port Authority, and in the weeks ahead, the Port Authority Board will study the financial packages of these 7 developers and select one.
Any hints as to what that Port Authority is looking for specifically?
Yes. The Port Authority says that they are looking for high-density developers. In other words, they'd rather see a hotel with 600 rooms as opposed to a hotel with 200 rooms. They're also looking for front-end guarantees financially. They want to make sure that they're not going to get a developer in there that's going to go sour. They want to make sure that they're going to have a developer who will come in and not start pushing the costs off onto the taxpayer. Another element that they want is they would like an equity partner. In other words, they would like to share in some of the profits from this venture.
And what about a timetable? They know when they want all of this done?
In June 14th to be specific, they would hope to have all of the financial packages from the developers and select a developer that they feel would, or a couple of developers who would be financially sound. And then by June 18th, they would like to select that one developer. And they're hoping that by 1988, they can get the first phase of that development completed.
Sounds like a lot of negotiating is going to be done before that's all done.
You bet. Meantime, a long-standing Twin Cities hospital is shutting down. Idle Hospital on the edge of downtown Minneapolis plans to close and merge with Abbott Northwestern Hospital. The company will try to relocate 200 employees who will be affected by the closing. It still must be approved by the parent company of both Idle and Abbott. Bill?
It was a night of fires and now a day of searching in Philadelphia. Police started those fires as they tried to flush out a radical group called MOVE. Unconfirmed reports are that 3 members of the group were killed. Many others are still on the loose in a Philadelphia neighborhood that this morning was smoldering. More on last night's events from Renee Ferguson of CBS.
Before the fire was under control, 50 to 60 homes would be damaged, at least half destroyed. What had for 3 years been a smoldering conflict between residents of this middle-class West Philadelphia neighborhood and members of a radical cult called MOVE exploded when police attempted to evict cult members from their house.
On 3 separate occasions, they attacked and gang beat 3 of our residents on our block, on the steps or right outside their homes, and they caused 2 families to move away.
On Monday morning, police who attempted to arrest MOVE members met gunfire. Late Monday afternoon, authorities dropped an explosive on the roof of the house. But firefighters were unable to keep the subsequent blaze from spreading after armed cult members reportedly fired shots at them. One woman, cult leader Ramona Africa, was driven from the burning house and is now under arrest.
This is not child's play. This is a very, very serious matter. What we have out there is war.
For Teresa Nesbitt, no explanation is adequate.
Yes, I am angry because all my belongings are gone. And I don't know where I'll be standing now. I don't have nothing, anything.
In defending the actions of the police, Mayor Wilson Good said he knew that violence was possible, but he was determined that no organization like MOVE would be allowed to hold the city hostage. Renee Ferguson, CBS News, Philadelphia.
Farmers showed up in Olivia, Minnesota today hoping to stop a farm foreclosure, but they could not. The Scheffler farm was being auctioned off by Travelers Insurance. The woman who owned the farm has been a widow for 2 years. Close to 200 farmers yelled no sale. The insurance company and the owner did manage to work out an agreement that will allow the family to keep the homestead. Debbie?
There was also protest today at the Honeywell headquarters in Minneapolis. 3 of the protesters were arrested for trespassing while trying to plant a Russian olive tree on Honeywell property. They were taken in, ticketed, and released. It is all a part of a week-long protest there at Honeywell. Governor Rudy Perpich today established a nonprofit corporation to raise $500,000 to build a treatment center in Minnesota for victims of torture. A special task force reported today that the center should be built in the Twin Cities to treat up to 100 people a year who have been tortured by foreign governments. The governor, who will personally lead the fundraising effort, said a victim center can be justified on humanitarian grounds alone, and that Minnesota's medical and social services make this state an ideal place to put it.
There is no personal stake in this idea for most Minnesotans. Yet I cannot help but feel that our immigrant roots, our fine and medical and legal facilities, our strong religious communities, and our sense of caring for others make this an ideal for make this an ideal place here in Minnesota for such a center.
The task force hopes to begin treating torture victims by 1986. It would be the only such facility in the United States. Bill?
A 28-year-old woman is in critical condition this noon following a head-on collision between a semi-truck and her car just after 1 a.m. Kathleen Croat was headed westbound on Crosstown Highway when the truck reportedly jumped the median and hit her head-on. The truck driver was not hurt. The bill that some thought would make crashes and everyday driving safer will not become law this year in Minnesota. The Senate passed a mandatory seatbelt bill, but the House last night rejected it by a vote of 70 to 61. The bill sponsors say they won't bring it up again this session. Opponents say they were against it because it infringes on individual rights. Ahead in the noon report, consumers show they're buying this spring.
And spring weather tears up Texas, and there is still more suspicion about what happened in a Minnesota field 14 years ago. A series report is also ahead.
If you've a toothache, get Maximum Strength Oragel. Because Maximum Strength Oragel provides immediate and long-lasting pain relief.
Hunting for a way to control foxtails and other problem grasses? Get new Fusilade 2000, the total solution for grass control. Volunteer corn and other grasses, volunteering to wreck your yields? Get new Fusilade 2000, the total solution for grass control.
I used to be a lousy cook until I got a hold of Heinz 57 sauce. It's more than a great steak sauce. On the back of these bottles is my entire recipe collection. Great American meatloaf, sweet and sour pork chops. This is tangy chicken. Heinz 57 gives it a tangy flavor you can't get from any other sauce. With Heinz 57, even I can be a culinary success. Try Heinz 57 sauce. It's more than a steak sauce, a heck of a lot more.
You ought to try Fit and Trim.
Fit and Trim? Are you saying I need a diet food?
No. This stuff just tastes great.
Come on, a fitness food that tastes good?
Yeah. See the beefy flavored chunks? Come on, just try a bite.
Wow, this tastes terrific. And it's a fitness food too, huh?
Not that you need to lose weight.
Well, maybe a few pounds. Fit and Trim brand dog food. The fitness food.
That tastes great.
Twisters took their toll on Texas yesterday, but only to property, not to people. Towns like Tyler and DeSoto reported heavy damage of more than $1 million. Lots of precipitation, but no such problem here.
No, but it looks like that Iowa weather system is going to continue to swing moisture into the area, moving it from Iowa right up through our metro area. All morning long, we've had areas of light rain and drizzle move to the north through the metro area, then kind of bend a little bit more to the northwest as that low pressure center shifts a little more to the eastern part of Iowa. And right now we have rain over the metro area. In fact, there's a lot of rain over the state of Minnesota. Thief River Falls, Ely, Duluth, through the metro area and down to Fairmont. We've got a band of showers around the metro area and extending across the river to the southwest or into the Worthington area. And our forecast for the afternoon is periods of rain, light rain or drizzle. There could be some heavy rain and thunderstorms. Afternoon temperature in the upper 50s to the low 60s. Well, now that rainy day feeling is with us, more on weather around the country later on the Noon Report.
In Montana, a jury convicted Daniel Nichols of kidnapping an Olympic skier so she could be his sexual mate in the wilderness. Carrie Swenson was abducted July 15th. A local case involving Minneapolis patrolman James Shaw remains a mystery 14 years after the fact. Was it murder or suicide? Dave Nimmer looks at the question in the first of a series of reports.
John Beatty and Lee Lorge are a couple of street cops. Not flashy or brilliant, but straight arrow honest and doggedly persistent. Since 1979, when they worked in internal affairs, they have been suspicious of the official version of Shaw's death. For the last 6 years on their own, and for the last 6 months on department time, the two have looked at the photos, combed the scene, read the reports, and talked to witnesses. The conclusion, they say, is inescapable.
I'm of the definite opinion that Jim Shaw was murdered. I believe that Jim was silenced because of information that he had gathered and was about to go to proper authorities with.
You got any doubts in your own mind?
None whatsoever. None.
The pair never met Jim Shaw, but they feel they now know him. A husband, a father, but mostly a cop.
He wasn't a wacko like a lot of people thought he was at the time. He was a good officer. He got a bad rap. And his family can be proud of him, no matter what anyone says about him.
What they said about Jim Shaw back in 1971 was that he was depressed, unstable, and that a terrible fight with his wife, where he'd threatened suicide, drove him to this field in Plymouth, where he walked 300 yards across the planted corn, knelt down at the edge of the woods, put his service revolver in his mouth, and then pulled the trigger. Shaw's automobile was found about 8 that night here at the edge of this cornfield by Hennepin County Deputy Sheriff Roger Danielski. Danielski stopped his squad, got out and walked around Shaw's automobile, and then headed out into the cornfield. He saw a man, and at first he thought it was Shaw, so he waved. The man was wearing a light blue shirt and dark blue pants. That also happens to be the summer uniform of the Minneapolis Police Department. Well, Deputy Danielski radioed the dispatcher about the fleeing man. And that was the first lead, and it would soon be forgotten. That mysterious blue-shirted man in the field was one of several leads passed over as unimportant in the initial investigation. Some witnesses have wondered whether there were too many policemen at the scene and too little control. That opinion is dead wrong, says Hennepin Sheriff Don Omott, who declined an on-camera interview. He says the scene was not only controlled, but a half dozen of his best investigators were there, who took photos, fingerprints, and paraffin tests. But Craig Zinter, who'd been cultivating the cornfield, says he was never seriously interviewed by investigators that day. He would have told them that he, like Deputy Danielski, had seen what he thought was a blue-shirted man near Shaw's body. And he'd also seen a couple of men in their 20s get out of a car and poke around Shaw's automobile. Did any of the investigators, any of the deputies, anybody ask you what you saw?
No, they weren't interested in who was there, so after a few minutes I went down and talked to one of the fellows that was looking in the car and told him that I had been cultivating in that field that afternoon, and that told him where I could be reached, and was more or less told to get out of the way.
While Zinter claims he was ignored, the two Minneapolis investigators claim that their own department lost what might have been key evidence in the case. They were a sealed envelope and a briefcase found in the front seat of Shaw's automobile. In his briefcase, Shaw kept his reports, his tickets, and just maybe his personal notes. Now, the sheriff says one of his investigators went through the briefcase and didn't find anything unusual. However, investigators Lorge and Beatty say that Shaw could have had some cryptic notations or references about the suspicions he had that a few of his Bryant Station colleagues were involved in burglaries. They'll never know now.
We do know that the county investigators turned it over to the Minneapolis police. It was signed for by Minneapolis police and put into our headquarters office.
And it got lost.
And it got lost.
The autopsy report did not get lost. There wasn't one. The medical examiner at the time said none was needed.
This case was that of a classical suicide. The trajectory of the bullet went from the roof of the mouth up through the back of the head.
It was an easy way to explain the death of this policeman. He said he was going to do it, and now he's dead, so therefore it's suicide.
But these two policemen don't believe that today. And tomorrow night, we'll look at the possibility of murder. With Doug Stone and photographer Bob Fishnick, Dave Nimmer, WCCO Television News in the Twin Cities.
We're a small town, homegrown, made the way you make your own pizza. Tombstone, we're a ladled on and loaded up with lots of mozzarella on the pizza. Tombstone,
we pile on the goodness, we're loaded with real cheese.
We're sure the taste of Tombstone's gonna please, or to please your families. We're a small town, homegrown, made the way you make your own pizza. Tombstone, made the way you make your very own. Tombstone.
I'm going to bring up a subject that's in most everyone's mouth, but nobody talks about. Hard, crusty tartar. This can scrape it away, but no toothpaste can control it except this one. New Tartar Control Formula Crest. It turns your toothbrush into a tartar-fighting tool because it's the only toothpaste clinically proven by dentists to fight both cavities and tartar. Look, tartar is so hard, only your dentist or hygienist can scrape it away. But you can significantly reduce ugly tartar buildup between dental visits with Tartar Control Crest. So why just fight tartar twice a year when you can fight it every day? With new Tartar Control Formula Crest in the silver box. It turns your toothbrush into a tartar-fighting tool.
Freedom, the greatest gift your country gives. Help preserve it by taking stock in America. Buy United States Savings Bonds.
No one feeds a family like Super Value. This week, look for new Nabisco snack crackers. Great anytime people are having fun. Save on all varieties of wheat thins, just 99 cents each. And new Great Crisps in 7 real ingredient flavors, also 99 cents. Plus pork loin assorted pork chops, only 89 cents a pound.
No one feeds a family like Super Value.
A federal court judge in Minneapolis this morning ruled that there is enough evidence to make 5 defendants stand trial for charges that they were involved in a heroin ring. They were arrested last week in one of the biggest drug busts in Minnesota history. The drugs were reportedly smuggled from Southeast Asia. Bill?
Overseas today, news of religion and arms talks. This is the Pope's last full day in the Netherlands following a visit marred by protest. Today, in fact, he had to take the so-called Pope-mobile rather than a plane because of a bomb threat at the airport. And in Vienna, Soviet Foreign Minister Gromyko arrived today where he plans to meet with U.S. Secretary of State George Shultz. It's the first meeting since the friction created when Soviets killed an American military officer in West Germany.
And even though he said he wouldn't do it, boxing great Muhammad Ali went back into the ring today. But it was for fun and not the real thing. He is on a tour of China, and today he sparred with several Chinese boxers. Ali allowed one of the young boxers to knock him down. Boxing is popular again in China after being outlawed when a Chinese boxer died 3 years ago.
During an interview several years ago, I jokingly exchanged a couple of punches with Muhammad Ali, and even that was terrifying.
Bad. Wrong.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not a wise thing to do. No. That man just is explosive, even if he is retired.
Let's not talk about explosions. Had another one in the ninth last night.
Yes.
In Yankee Stadium.
Wrong side, though.
But let's put some perspective in this. Now, the Twins lost another game and a ninth-inning home run. Don Mattingly did it for the Yankees last night, while Ron Davis was on the mound. That's the 4th time it's happened this season and the 3rd time in the past 4 games. Now, Davis will have to take most of the heat, but Mike Smithson, who let an 8-0 lead shrink to 8-6 before being relieved, has to share some of the blame. The Twins jumped off to a 2-0 lead with 4 singles in the very first inning, the top of the first. Kent Herbeck scored Kirby Puckett here with his single that just goes through the hole between first and second, and that sent Mickey Hatcher all the way around from first base to third base. Hatch came home on Bernansky's fielder's choice. The Twins then scored 6 runs at the top of the second after both pitchers had hit a batter and drew warnings from the home plate umpire. The big blow in the second was Randy Bush's 3-run homer in the upper deck in right field. It was Bush's 3rd homer of the year, his 2nd in as many nights. His grand slam is the game winner Sunday in Baltimore. Bush has just 6 hits so far as a DH, 3 homers, 2 doubles, and a single. Butch Weininger here hit a 3-run homer in the 6th as the Yankees scored 5 runs and drove Smithson from the mound in favor of Pete Filson. Now, Filson held him for 1 inning without a run, and Davis came out in the 7th. R.D. held him until he walked the leadoff batter in the 9th, and then walked Griffey to give the Yankees 2 on and 2 out. Don Mattingly then unloaded a 1-0 pitch, hitting it into the right field seats, and the Yankees celebrated an unbelievable 9-8 victory after being down 8-0 after just 2 innings of the game. The loss dropped the Twins into 3rd place. Now, the White Sox beat Cleveland 8-0 and moved into 2nd place, 2 games behind the idle California Angel, and the Twins are now 2.5 games back. Well, in a rare move yesterday, the league commissioner Francis Dale reversed the outcome of Sunday's soccer game between the Strikers and San Diego, making the Strikers the winners 4-3 and forcing their best-of-5 playoff series to a 5th and deciding game tonight in San Diego. Now, the Strikers protested that San Diego allowed an ineligible player to participate in the shootout after the game ended in a tie, and the commissioner agreed and allowed their protest. Jacques Ladouceur here scored on his attempt during the shootout, giving San Diego a 3-2 lead. Jan Guzens then tied the score at 3-3. But with Ladouceur's goal disallowed, the Strikers were ruled the winners in the shootout and the game by the score of 4-3. Well, Bud Grant had his first day on the practice field since returning as he welcomed more than a dozen rookies to the club's minicamp in Eden Prairie yesterday. Grant is holding a 4-day, take it easy, get acquainted camp for coaches and players. The schedule will include 2 light drills each day, no pads, no rigorous contact, and numerous classroom meetings with new players and new coaches. Yesterday was for rookies only, and number 56, the big guy there, the #1 choice, Chris Dolman, drew a lot of attention. Most of the veterans will join the group today, and they will work out on and off until Thursday. And folks, Grant said after yesterday's session, there will be shorter workouts and shorter press conferences with the head coach afterwards from now on.
He is known for short, some would say concise practice sessions. Is it just shorter by comparison with last year, or is it shorter by comparison with other teams around the league?
Anyone or any other team, but
really?
Does not like to waste it on the practice field.
And we won't have to worry about no heaters on the sideline anymore since we're in the dome.
No.
That was another one of his...
Yes, they had them in the pockets.
Curious. Okay, more rain today. Is that a question or a statement? Bud will fill us in a moment. Also, Texas tops Minnesota beauty pageant style.
I'm leaving you, Dannon. I've fallen in love with another. I found a new love.
Introducing Yoplait Fruit on the Bottom yogurt. In a taste test, people preferred Yoplait's Fruit on the Bottom to Dannon's.
It was stirring the real fruit up through the thick and creamy low-fat yogurt. It was love at first spoonful. Goodbye, Dannon. You were good, but not good enough.
New Yoplait Fruit on the Bottom yogurt. You can't help falling in love.
The watch to watch is Loris. Fashionable, dependable, Loris. It's everything except expensive.
Who's there helping Mom when she's up with the sun? Who helps her make lunch, great tasting and fun? Who's there when Mom's not to help us eat well? His first name is John, his last name's Morrell. As a matter of fact, next to a dad, John Morrell is the best friend that Mom ever had. Who makes the pranks that make Mom say, gee, thanks? You got it!
$39. Right now, soft contact lenses are just $39 at the optical department at Sears.
This is kind of nice rain that we've been having. It's not any torrential downpours.
that's
Good
true.
for the grass, the flowers.
Things are getting a little damp now. Gardens are getting a little soggy. Downtown here, we've measured 0.2 of an inch overnight.
I think we had about a quarter of an inch out in Bloomington.
Around the area. It looks like an afternoon of showers. Could get some heavy rain. It's estimated that the plants are about 2 weeks ahead of schedule. It allowed the Sweet Williams and the Columbines to get so tall the little rabbits couldn't reach them. Little rabbits will eat anything. Sweet William, here's the Columbine. Just a beautiful little wildflower. We get some of those in the backyard. And it's raining around the Twin Cities. Our temperature is at 54 degrees at the moment, and you kind of imagine the humidity, maybe it's a little on the high side. It's 89%. The wind is from the east at 10 miles an hour, and the pressure reading is at 29.76, so the pressure falling, so there's rain in the area, temperature at 54 degrees. Showers in the metro area and have just kind of moved out of the northern part or out of Anoka County, a little bit to the north of our 7-county metro area, bending to the southwest, crossing the river here, down around the Worthington area. There are some thunderstorms right along the Minnesota-Iowa line, so we'll continue to get periods of rain through the afternoon. In the 24-hour precipitation outlook, it's possible up to 2 inches of rain would fall in southwestern Minnesota, up to an inch in east central Minnesota and west central Wisconsin. That inch would include our Twin Cities metro area. And the upper air flow is providing some guidance to that weather system that's been moving from Nebraska into Iowa, sweeping pretty much down to the northern part of Texas. It was 42 degrees this morning in El Paso, Texas. That's a minimum temperature record for the day. Storm track up through most of the Mississippi Valley, way north of the lakes and to New England. And a cold pocket of temperatures right in here in the 20s and 30s this morning at West Yellowstone Park. It was 20 degrees, and we told you about the temperatures in the 40s in the around the western part of Texas. And we had some 40s and 50s. It was 50 for our minimum in the Twin Cities area. Now that weather system has moved from Nebraska into Iowa, will be swinging through Wisconsin through the day, keeping us cloudy with a chance of rain. Temperatures in the 90s over the southeast, 70s to the northeast, in the 70s from Rapid City down through Lubbock, and the upper 80s at Las Vegas for the afternoon. Now here in the metro area, our temperature for the afternoon in the upper 50s and the low 60s is our forecast, with periods of light rain or drizzle. Could be some heavy rain and thunderstorms, northeast winds at 10 to 20. Tonight, periods of rain, drizzle, could be again some heavy rain and possible thunderstorms. 52 low tonight, northeast winds, and for tomorrow,